Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip here with co-host Jeff. What's going on tonight, Jeff?
What is up, Chip? What a great day. Looking forward to tonight's stream.
A very anticipated stream show that everybody's been looking forward to because we have the two managing directors from a really incredible project called Vagabond. We're going to get into it with them, or we're going to sort of workshop this. We welcome any questions you have, but we really want to focus in on the problem that they're solving. And what's Vagabond all about, and what does the future look like? So, Jeff, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to kick this thing off. I was going to ask you, what's the project? And you mentioned it. Vagabond.
Vagabond. Let's do this.
Vagabond. Let's go. Let's do it. Where is it? Oh, I'm supposed to hit it.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Yeah, Jeff. Very good.
I'm watching. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Well, we always usually do it the same. So anyway, I wanted to, Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and do an introduction here. But first, if we could, so we have two gentlemen here. And again, really grateful to have them here because it is 2 a.m. in Germany right now. We have Navid, Kiani, Larijani, and we also have Dr. Thomas Riegler. They are the founding directors, the managing directors. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
thanks for having us.
Awesome to have you here on the chain.
I'm really pleased being here.
It's going to be great digging into some questions. And I think on the tip of everybody's, I guess, what we want to know the most about, when you guys got together, and I'll go ahead and direct this first comment, I guess, question to Dr. Thomas Riegler. When you first wanted to join forces and get into this, what was your thought as far as the problem you would be solving? You saw a problem, you said, we gotta join forces here and figure out, because I know you're both accomplished and we'll get into that, but what is the problem that you're solving?
So look, because we have a common history, we both are in consulting business, we work together, and whenever we had a project or whatever we did, it was always that the people said, look, this blockchain, it's so expensive, it takes so much time, and we don't know about it. So our mission is really, we want to make blockchain accessible and affordable for everyone, which should be really in the way that the people are using it, and it becomes really mainstream in the industry. And this was actually how we came together and said, look, we always saw that and said, look, we have to do something that everyone and the mainstream can use blockchain.
Oh, very good. And I think it's probably important because when we look at any sort of a new company or a project, it's pretty important to take a look at who you gentlemen are, because you're both pretty accomplished and what you've done, where you've worked. And so you've been around for a little bit. So first of all, Navid, I wanted to direct that question to you. If you could just give everybody a little bit of your background, just a sampling of what you've done and kind of what your background looks like.
Sure. I started pretty early in the gaming industry. It was 1998. Did some very, very mainstream games. You guys in the US don't know that, even though it was for a US brand. But I did this mainstream games until I started to build up my own company and go a little bit more deeper into realistic racing games. After that, I started to have more interest in technology and building my own technology. Started my own company. Sold that to Red Bull after a while. Went into agencies and actually supported companies and consulted companies in digital transformation, starting from the first apps, in the end of the 2000s into 2010. Went on and we started to build up at a certain time Salesforce and SAP systems, which led me into consulting then. Consulting with PwC, we did then the big guys. We helped the big companies to transform completely, rethink, innovate in their way. That's where I met Thomas, and that's where the early stages of something like Vagabond started. which then formed into Vagabond afterwards. Yeah.
Now I know everybody in the audience is dying to know this one since you brought it up. You brought up racing games, and maybe I'm the only one that's passionate about this. But racing games are awesome. Racing's awesome. You sold it to Red Bull. I'm dying to know which games were you involved in, and which can you talk about the one that you sold to Red Bull?
No, we didn't sell the racing game to Red Bull. I sold my agency to Red Bull.
Oh,
it was GTR,
okay.
Grand Tour Racing, and GT Legends,
Wow.
which is today World of Cars.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Are you into racing yourself, or is it more the video game path?
The fun fact is, I build the games. Thomas is the racer.
Thomas is the racer.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Now we're gonna find out. Okay.
Yeah, so I was in the Formula Opel series. So it's let's say where you start racing with monoposty, and years ago. But definitely this was. But unfortunately, I was driving with Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. But unfortunately, in the second league, because there's the professional guys, and then it was more my guys, and even I was a little bit older at those times as they. But actually, I have some, let's say, fuel in my blood, because also, if it comes to my career, I spent 14 years with Mercedes. So you can imagine, you do not work for automotive company without having a real passion for it as well. And mine was both. So racing cars, and still today I love racing cars, and yet now it's more Porsche Super Cup and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the way I do the real business always, or the real stuff. And Navid is configuring the games and the digital world. So you see how we both harmonize together.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm planning on being a real estate mogul in the metaverse. So that's what I'm working on next. That's my next thing. But Dr. Thomas, I'd like to know a little bit more about your background. Just give us an overview of your background and some of the things that you've done.
Yeah, look, I built really on 30 years business experience. So it's 8 years in strategy consultancy. Beside my own, it was with Roland Berger and PwC. And 22 years, actually, I was in leading executive positions. So I worked for private equity and family-owned companies, as well as publicly listed corporations of any size, from multinational organizations to SME, but also startups and scale-ups. So I was, for example, serving as executive board member, as I just told before, in the Daimler Group, in companies like in Argentina for Mercedes, in Brazil, in Japan and Belgium. And also for the Chrysler Corporation. I used to live 4 years in Detroit, which is not so nice.
Here we got another connection, Chip. Another
Detroit connection. I spent time working there for General Motors 4 years, and Jeff,
and I spent time there as well. I moved there after Chip left. My wife worked for General Motors for 20 years. So
yeah, so I was with Chrysler, and I was also the guy responsible bringing Chrysler and Daimler together. You know, the marriage in heaven, but unfortunately the divorce in hell. So I did both, the marriage and afterwards the carve out. It was professional wise great. So you see, I'm really dealing with businesses, but beside that, I also started my own companies, and there are two topics which I really have a great passion, and I work at this intersection of business and digitalization and business and sustainability. And these all three fit so perfectly together, because 10 years ago, when I started founding businesses who are building sustainable business models, and became more or less, and also supporting startups in terms of becoming more digitalized and bring this digitalization to corporates, because I know both worlds, the startup world and on the other hand, the huge corporates and how to bring those guys together. And it was, if you ask me about the red line through my career, it was always that I'm really, and I call me as an approved expert of transformation journeys and new business development. So a company builder to build new business together with startup and corporates to make more future fit organizations and create real sustainable value and prospering profit, because the new, or let's say these young companies, they are failing because they do not know how these corporates work and how to work with them together. And if you know both worlds, you can bring them together and go into let's say a common transformation journey and really building up new businesses. So, and this was also where Navid and I then came together, because with my background of 30 years in established corporates, and on the other side, also in the last 10 years, or now it's already 15 years, supporting startup and scale-ups.
So would we expect to see, with this kind of background, I'd love to see some sort of an NFT racing game launched on Vagabond. I could just see that taking off. Can you imagine?
That's
NFTs
exactly what
of
I was
cars,
thinking.
all the upgrades, and then they come together. That might be in the roadmap somewhere down the line, perhaps. But the reason I bring this up, and for the audience, is that it's really important to know who your founders are of an organization, especially when they're accomplished, worked in the corporate world, but did a lot of things. And the reason I say that, because there's a lot of projects out there that are anonymous, or people, you don't know who the people are. I mean, I checked out your LinkedIn profiles, and and also the rest of the team members too. But as far as blockchain as a service, what differentiates your, I would say, Vagabond from, let's say, some other organizations that are doing something similar?
Look, I mean, we can name our other organizations, because we had to look into them when we started. So I always use VeChain as an example, which we admire and we respect, right? Huge project, really, really good project. And there it's exactly where we started, right? So VeChain has a really, really nice use case, serves huge enterprise clients as they need supply chain management. Right. And we took that and said, how can we make that much, much, much easier for the middle markets, for enterprises who want to test, who want to see, does that work in my organization before they start to spend hundred thousands or millions on it. So the main difference between us and the others is you do not need any coding experience in order to set up, your decentralized app.
Gotcha.
It's in the short form, right? So everything else that comes into it is everything what we do is tailored to the industries. So it has a business background or business context through pre-designed processes through SMEs who work in the industries, right?
Yeah, got it.
What do you see currently? I mean, it's a great idea, and it seems like one of the obstacles to businesses to get into the blockchain space is blockchain, is the technology. Are you seeing any obstacles to promoting and selling the strategies to enterprise level clients? And is the large enterprise level client your primary target?
Maybe you're going to start, Thomas. You can take over. The thing is, working with strategy consultants, top tier strategy consultants. The second idea is always blockchain. So the second slide is always you need blockchain. The problem is, as Thomas mentioned it's a budget problem, it's an experience problem or expertise problem, and finally, it is an IT legacy problem. Right? They cannot just simply implement blockchain as they want into the IT legacy infrastructure.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and the second, just I don't want to disrupt you, but the second is really, you were asking the big corporates or the smaller. To be honest, and this had also to do with the overarching vision of our Vagabond project, because we really see that the way how economy is done today, and also from the big corporates, is extremely centralized. And that's why we don't want to start with the big corporates. We want to start with the smaller enterprises and the mid-size enterprises, because they are far more open. But these are the ones who cannot afford it because they do not have the technical knowledge about the blockchain, and they do not have the money. They cannot afford to invest millions in blockchains. But they are the ones who have really in the real business, the real value, and they can be more flexible and can speed up. And with our solution, they can really disrupt industries on these levels. And this is what we want.
That's great. And so I was just looking at your website. I think one thing I wanted to go ahead and just put this on screen just to have like a talking point to look about it. But what's interesting is this one section here. Let's go ahead and show this. Let me go ahead and I'll put this up in here, and hopefully you gentlemen can see it. Can you see the screen there?
Yeah.
So yes, one of the things that's interesting is so you have a rough idea, and from that you can basically go ahead and create this product. So I mean, one of the things you talk about here is a token generator. So let's suppose somebody wanted to go ahead and spin up a token. They basically could do this with the Vagabond infrastructure, right? And from a pretty simple methodology of not creating the code and being able to do that. Can you talk a little bit about how that might look or work?
Sure. Look, token creators are pretty common in the space, right? So every second project I see has a token creator. The only difference is how do I tie it into my project?
Right.
How is it possible not to have two complete different components which doesn't work with each other? So, and almost every use case we are building up will have an utility behind that. Might be transactions, payments, might be loyalty is a huge thing over there. And using the tokens or the token generator to build up utility tokens in that case, which you can use internally without relying on, again, centralized databases or centralized models, is a huge benefit, for corporations specific, but also for the technology, right, for the platform itself. That is number one. Number two is, which is really interesting, is to have a token creator for every single blockchain platform you're using. Right, so how do I combine XRP or an XRPL token with an BSC token, with a Cardano token, and how do they interact with each other? Right, I think that's the more interesting part of that, and that comes down to the second layer we're using, which we definitely always say it's not cross-chain because we can't afford cross-chain or we can't build cross-chain. It's interchain what we do, right? So we do the computing power outside of the chain, but talk to each other.
So as you're looking at this as the cross chain or the dual chain, you chose two specific paths. You chose Binance and you chose XRPL. Can you talk a little bit about that thought process or the decisions that went into selecting those two specifically? And then, if you're looking at those two, is there a reason why you're not just using the XRPL and the inherent interoperability that's kind of baked into it?
Yeah, absolutely. We started the journey like everyone else started. We first looked into Ethereum, of course. Right? So that's the very first step. But,
and what happened when you looked into Ethereum? What conclusion did you come to?
Like the main conclusion is you can't go to a business and say, hey, listen, you might pay $5 gas or 800.
Right.
It depends. Right?
So
that was the first no-go on Ethereum. So, but we really wanted to use the protocols of Ethereum through the feature richness they bring. So Binance Smartchain was the obvious choice to going there. But still, we didn't solve any problems we had over there because the gas prices are still there. And the second thing, which is the most important thing, or two things, the second and the third one, which is equally important, is the speed and, of course, the sustainability part of it. Right? So you can't go in a time of ESG and COP26 and say, hey, listen, we're going to use energy just because we want to use it. right? So these are the thought processes behind that. And look, I personally have a wife. She's XRP Army. So I had no real choice than
There
looking
you
into
go.
Interesting.
I like
Very
that.
interesting.
So, and I followed XRP now since 2017 closely. And look, the ledger is a really, really good piece of technology which you really can implement in businesses. Not just easily, but it's gonna serve it's gonna solve a lot of problems businesses have. Right, as I said, transaction speed, to be green. These are two small things. And if you look into the roadmap of XRPL, well, there is quite a journey ahead of us, which we can use from both sides.
Right. It will get better. It will get stronger. But it's a unique, interesting sort of rollout, because you're also targeting different spheres of people and influence, people that are more maybe the XRPL, but also Binance chain too. There's that affordability as well, as far as people are not. So you have both. So someone put up a question here I wanted to get to. Someone, so K HUD said, do you find yourself as a niche market for a variable extension of a blockchain?
Do we find ourselves as a niche market? I mean, yes, definitely. The thing is, as we want to build up on different industries and different use cases in the industries, we definitely gonna be niche market at the beginning, right? Because we just can't solve specific problems for businesses at the beginning, but this will extend, and this will get broader in the technology, and you will move out of niche at a certain point. I mean, one example is gaming, right? Is car racing. Car racing in the early 2000s was niche, realistic simulators. Now it's it's mass.
Yeah.
Thomas, sorry I interrupted you.
No, it was just saying, for sure we have to start small and capturing some niches. But at the end, like Navid said, if we compare it with VeChain, at the end, it's all the supply chain and the value chain of a specific industry we want to capture from end to end. So, because this is the only way to really disrupt it. If you say, look, we are building new value chains in specific industries, but starting with, let's say, a marketplace or a payment solution or the NFT solution. And then saying at the end, it's all process steps in a value chain from, let's say, bringing the raw material from a farmer, the product on chain, and then having a traceability until it's either reused or recycled or wasted. But even the waste, we know where it is because of being in the chain. And then we can build really new business models on that. So starting from a niche, capturing all the value chain, and disrupting all the industries.
That's awesome. So there's a question here, and maybe we can use this as an example of how Vagabond would then be applicable to an existing company. And it sounds really interesting, you know, from the supply chain and the sustainability, being able to track it back to the, you know, origin, you know, of the product. But so Corey is saying, how about a furniture brand that does about 50 million annually? So let's call it Corey's Furniture. And, you know, how would, you know, Vagabond then be applicable to Corey's furniture company? You know, so let's say, what aspect, where does it start? How does it, you know, how do you implement, and where would it benefit a company like his? He is a, you know, small business, you know, doing, you know, 50 million annually, but there's obviously a lot of variables. He's the one, let's say he's building the furniture, sourcing the wood, etc. You know, how would you apply Vagabond to this scenario?
Thomas, do you want to?
Look, one what is obviously is let's say you have a distribution for sure. So even if you build the furniture, at the end you have a customer, and I assume as a furniture company you have a consumer at the end of the day, and you are selling your furniture to people, and you need probably a marketplace where you, as the guy who are doing the furniture, have a kind of an e-shop solution or whatever. Or you need a retention program, and you use probably NFT as a retention program for customers, and say, look, the utility of the token is actually that you get 10% off from me by consuming a certain amount of my real world furniture. So this could be one small solution where he can build immediately his retention program or his e-shop solution on our product. On the other side, if you go back, look, sourcing the value chain, you need to know where the wood comes from. Actually, you need to know where the tree comes from at the end of the day, because the traceability has to be proven. If in the world today, you have to prove that this wood is coming from not a wild forest, but it's really coming from a place where you can harvest the wood or in a protected way without harming the environment. And you cannot prove it today unless you know which are your suppliers, where do you get it, and if you bring it on chain in this, let's say, planted tree where it comes from. Then you can also prove, look, this piece, what I sell, is from this area of wood, and it's sustainable. You see what I mean? There's so many use cases, even in this one company. And normally you would say, yeah, I need a hell of money to make this going. But actually, you do not need to program anything. It's just using our modules and customizing it. Okay, a front end or whatever you need is then, this is easy. But the heart is to bring it quickly, either on chain, on the beginning of the value chain, or in the distribution where you sell, or the retention of your product.
Interesting. So curious, how does the VGB, the token, come in? What's the utility of the token? For example, once the drop happens, how can, if the potential audience, how would we use that token? What would be some of the use cases and the utility of the token itself?
It depends. I mean, we have two different things. We promised we're going to come up in February with the NFT market builder, right? So everyone can build it up. We will give the choice to pay with VGB or with XRP. We're definitely going to give the choice. But the VGB utility part of it has a little bit, more to do within the business context or the networking context behind that. If I just take Thomas's his example, at the moment you order your raw material from somewhere, it has to go through logistics. It has to come to a middleman. It has to go again through logistics, and then arrives in your factory, shop, whatever. There are steps which have to be paid on the way. Right, so you don't usually go and pay them cash anymore. I mean, not in 2021, right? So there are contracts between, there are liabilities, there are securities behind that. So you have it. You have to do that. So the tokens are part of the backing up of the real money on the way. So that means, I have to go a little bit further with the explanation, otherwise it's not, if people won't understand. So the thing is, Vagabond works if the adaptability rate increases. That means the more people use Vagabond as a platform, or the modules of Vagabond, the more sense it makes to use the tokens as payments, as it's not security. I can't say in the XRP community security. Not anymore. Right? So,
no, that's a bad word.
Yeah, I know.
It's been stricken from our vernacular.
Yeah, no. You use it to back up your debts, right? At the end of the day. And how does that work? The price of the tokens gonna have a worth, and this worth gonna be transported or transferred as the sorry, I forgot the English word for that. Too German for this.
Okay.
to back that up. So how do we do that? We're gonna back it up with real dollars in our account to give the security, not the security, to secure the money on the way.
Got it.
Sorry, it's very late, and I'm very German to explain that.
Yeah, I just want to say that Thomas and Navid, you guys are doing a phenomenal job, considering that you spent the past 48 hours flying from Dubai home.
Yeah,
ran into some
and zero sleep. So
zero sleep. So kudos to you guys for
Thanks.
for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
But
so-
was it? Could I answer the question? It's very vague, I know, but it's
Yeah, I think it was. I just wanted to go back to, I saw it in here and I thought, so the gentleman who, what was the tweet we put up about the
furniture?
About the furniture. So he said he imports it, he builds it, and of course I lost it. That was Corey, wasn't it? Anyway, I'll look for
Corey,
that.
yeah.
But while we
Maybe
talk
you can
about
post
that
it again.
Yeah, Corey,
that's
yeah, if you could go ahead and throw that in there again, I wouldn't mind just tossing it in there. But let's talk a little bit about the team. So we know that you're based in Germany, but tell us about the team. How big is it? Where's the entire team located? Are you guys all located in Germany?
No. So Thomas is sitting in Salzburg right now, but our head office is in Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, yeah.
We are four people in Frankfurt. Mainly the leadership team is in Frankfurt, sitting there. We have a nearshore studio who does the development and the design. They're sitting in Ukraine, 42 people over there. And we opened our office in Dubai. For all the payment solutions for every services which we can't do due to regulations, which we can't do due to restrictions in these two countries, and we can do in Dubai. We are planning, as I said earlier, we are planning to expand to the US sooner or later, and to Far East.
Very nice.
Yeah. A couple of people I saw a couple comments inside there. Go ahead. You want to throw that up there, Josh?
Yeah, let me throw this up. And this is interesting. As we begin to dissect into, the project and really get to understand it, I think it's great when we get to use a real world example, and so I'm looking at, Corey's example here. He's manufacturing his product overseas. They own the manufacturing. Obviously they're outsourcing, or they've contracted with a manufacturing house somewhere internationally. They're then importing it. They're selling majority online. I'm seeing a couple different scenarios here of tracking from the logistics, obviously, from the beginning source, like you'd mentioned. Can we confirm actual source of product? Where is it coming from? Because if it's being built in a specific manufacturing facility in a specific country, can the consumer then trust that factory is actually utilizing the types of wood that they're stating that they're using? So can we track it all the way back? And so moving product from overseas, importation, going through any of the importation process. Obviously there's a transfer of funds. So you brought up the VGB there. In around the process, then they're transacting it online, so there's more interaction of funds. But one other element here, you bring up the NFT. Does the NFT then have the potential of providing more value to Corey's product, because that NFT can then also legitimize that individual product somehow as real and a real authentic Corey Drew piece of furniture? So that way, if on the secondary market, someone then decides they want to buy it, or if I'm buying it online and not necessarily from Corey's website, then I want to be able to authenticate that product, and it should then carry that NFT and then transfer ownership. Can you kind of work through that, kind of workshop through that process using Vagabond? And is Vagabond the best solution for doing this, considering that you're helping Corey kind of do it on his own, but are there other solutions that Corey could potentially be using that would do something similar? And, how would you be better and differ? I guess that's a lot to unwrap, but
Wow, Jeff.
No, it's actually not. I mean,
No,
thank you,
it's
Corey, for
the
the
real
question again.
case.
Yeah.
it's a real case.
What I find really interesting in this question, because that really fits to what we want to do and what we are building up. Look, sourcing we mentioned. From the sourcing you get information. The information are transparent on the chain, right? Number one. Number two, you get it, you manufacture it, you've got the steps behind that. You can use IoT to put the information on the chain easily, right? Easily implemented even into Vagabond through the API API interfaces we have. You need to go and to order transportation. You need your bill of loading. If you got the money or lent the money, you need a letter of credit to do that. It goes on a ship. It takes the time to get there. The ship has emission. The emission going to be calculated. It's going to come to the US. The US, you have to go to customs. The customs, the information of the customs has to be somewhere, has to be written somewhere, publicly or not publicly. From there, you're going to bring it to your distribution center. It has to go online, and then you sell it to the client. You need customer support, etc., etc. So the big problem businesses have today is every single step has its own little bucket of information, which either they have to collect, put together, and then at the end present it on their website where they want to sell it. And there is the breaking point of every single operations in that kind. It doesn't matter if you're Nike, IKEA, or if you're Corey with a mid-size, small-size business. So if you can track the way back, of course, to sourcing, but also get the information you collected along the way, and put it for your end customer on the platform. And then you said second market, reuse this information for the second market to get a much better price for your product you have, to record the damages on it, to record the improvements of it. That is exactly what Vagabond is intending to do. So in order to do that, we need to adapt the Vagabond to the small part, so the woodler, right, on the one side, the small manufacturer, etc. And Thomas said it. Mainly the benefit outweighs the costs usually. But with blockchain in today's world, the benefit does not outweigh the cost. So that's where we come in. We're going to minimize the cost through predefined processes. So Corey can collect all these informations. From the moment he decides with the design to build something until going to the website, it's actually just one stream of data information which is going to go along. And now, to take that even further, if tomorrow Corey decides to expand his business and do reselling with other companies, what mostly happens is everyone has a JPEG of this furniture on his computer, low pixel sometimes, high pixel sometimes, etc. If you have it decentralized, there's just one single source of truth of information around it. So you can't just store stuff on your, or you don't need to store information on your own databases. You always can go back to Corey's eShop, connect to Corey's eShop, and get the information. That's what I meant. Nike, for example, or all the other big, or Nike, sorry, Nike German again. all the other big corporations are suffering exactly this one single problem, which costs millions and millions per year.
Can I throw you a curveball? So this is interesting. So K-HUD is a customer, right? I'm not saying he bought from Corey, but let's say in this example that he bought from Corey's ABC manufacturing. And so here he just bought a table. Corey was stating that it was single sourced. The wood is single sourced from Africa. He builds the product, imports the product, come to find out that this product now has wood boring beetles in it. So now the question is, through the blockchain, are you then able to track it back to the product being single sourced, multi-sourced, or could the fault then lie in the shipping provider because maybe there was another container on the ship that had wood on it that might have had these beetles, so you can track the fault back, or maybe the manufacturing process, they're creating the furniture and the wood in the crate didn't have proper fumigation. They were using, some cheap crating that had the wood boring beetles, and you can then track it back potentially. Is all of that then traceable? And, can it also then help consumer, KHUD, take action and go to Corey and say, hey, Corey, I'm looking through the blockchain and I'm connecting the dots, and these wood boring beetles came from the trees that you guys built, made the furniture out of, or we're finding out that through this process somehow it's actually in the crate. I mean, how does all that interact? Because this is real world that someone's actually using blockchain. Everyone talks about blockchain from the crypto aspect. We talk about logistics, kind of pie in the sky as never factual, never real case. So can you implement this this curveball into the conversation, Thomas?
Yeah, definitely. Look, this is the best case you could give us, because this is real world. This is what we experience, and everyone tried to solve this problem, but so many information at so many points, so many interfaces, so many different IT solutions, so many, let's say, points to give over information, whatever, in paper, in some digital world. And a couple of companies, and even in the ones I worked, we tried to solve it. But everyone tried then to learn how this blockchain and the IT works and to connect everything with everything. And this won't work, because it will be far too expensive and it will take far too long time, and you need so many experts. But that's why we said we are pre-programming processes, because we know what these steps are, and starting at the very, very beginning of the value chain, which is the farmer of the tree. And there you begin tracing, and then you put on the blockchain, and actually it's not our blockchain, but what we said, the existing blockchain, we put this information. And then it's traceable, because then you know on which truck there was the wood, or on which ship, or which other containers were there, and which block of wood was used in the manufacturing for which table or which cupboard or whatever, and produced by which of the manufacturer and in which part. Even if you connect it with IoT, on which machine, I can tell you, because I can tell you this wood was going through this machine, and you can measure in every enterprise software the performance of the machine, and if there were something, whatever, there, you see it immediately, and not extremely expensive, because it's pre-programmed. Will we have this today? No, there are a couple days to go to have this, but this is exactly the ultimate goal, with affordable instruments, I call it, or modules on each step of this value chain and the creation of the product, until the consumer and a second market for this product. And then, Corey's way of doing it, and also the consumer, the other example, will find out immediately where it was built, on which transporter, on which ship, and in which plant for which tree. And this is exactly the value and the traceability, and a couple of and these logistic companies, the huge ones, they are trying to do that, but they do it on a centralized blockchain. It's not decentralized, and you still cannot trust. This is the problem, because if there's a private blockchain and they write all this information on their private blockchain, it's still centralized. It's not decentralized, and the information can be manipulated, and you do not know if it's the right information. But if you have a proof from the supplier or the shipping company, this was the transporter, this was the wood, this is the table, and you can have everywhere QR codes or whatever, you bring it then on chain, and then you see immediately, oh, there's a proof, this was the furniture, this was the part, the piece, and this was the way how it was produced, and this was the farmer who more or less gave the raw material. And you see the difference. It's on a real decentralized chain, It's not centralized because it's not our chain. It's either the XRP or the Binance or Cardano, and you see all this information and you can track it. But it's still Curry's blockchain at the end. And no matter how many tables it is, because you
4,000
start
tables.
on each.
It wasn't one table.
Okay, now perfect.
K Hud is
perfect.
upset.
Even
Corey,
K
what
Hud,
the heck
well-
happened here?
Okay. Look, guys, there's I think one important part in the whole thing is the 4,000 is, by the way, great. We can't track back the Beatles, right? We don't know where the Beatles come from.
No.
Oh, wait a minute.
We're gonna find where these.
Let me interrupt you right there. I just want to get back to Beatles. First of all, Beatles is not John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Now, we know they got their start in Hamburg, Germany, but that's a different Beatles. It's B-E-E-T. When I saw Beatles, I was like, there's little Beatles in there? Are they doing woo? Are they singing too? I was like, I saw the Beatles. I was like, they're not little Beatles. I would take them and put them on a stage, you know.
Yep.
But anyway, sorry about that.
So now Corey's actually fired up. He's listening to this conversation, and we've got hydroponics. Alan, he's
I was
fired
gonna throw
up.
that
He's
up
got
there
a
too, yeah.
manufacturing process. He does some things in the hydroponics. Corey and Alan fired up. Now they say, hey, this sounds great. You know, we want to figure out, you know, we could see the utility. We could see how it's applicable to our business right now. We can see how it's solving some problems, giving more transparency to our process, you know, for them as, you know, manufacturers, them as sellers to retail and possibly B2B. They want to take the next step. They're ready to go. What do they do? How do they implement this? You know, what kind of level of IT do they need to know? What kind of support mechanism do you guys create to help them customize the solution to fit their specific purpose? And then what? You know, what's the next step?
Pretty simple. Give us a call. The thing is, today you can't go on our platform, log in and build up for a wood manufacturer, right? Or a furniture manufacturer, your use case. Give us a call. At the early stage where we are right now, we partner up with Corey's in this world and build up their use cases, specific customized use cases, because they know their business more than we know, and we know their business. Yeah. So, and to get the expertise from them in and build this furniture specific use case, gonna help. If Corey would be in automotive, well, we would have something for that. If he would be in aviation, we would have something for that. But for the furniture part, give us a call. Let's set up a meeting, and then we are gonna go through the next steps. But still, for someone who is out of automotive and want to use use cases, they can definitely go onto platform, log in, and choose the modules they want to have, and just mix and match it to fit their purpose.
What about some other decentralized? What I love about the audience is how they're always thinking about how can they adapt, how can they use it. What about some other business applications? You know, like for example, I think you had a scenario where there's a lot of communication, the way people would communicate, or start job ticketing when you have stuff for devs. Is there anything in that arena that could solve some issues there and solve some problems?
Yeah, look, in a company, you always have the same set of tools you use, same set of software you use, and there are always completely different software do not communicate with each other. On the HR side, for example, every single employee in a company, right, has a track record, right? So he's working in companies from the very, very beginning, goes to school and goes there. And one thing was when we sat together and said, how cool would that be if I don't have to provide any CVs anymore? Mm-hmm. If every company, I've worked with just tracks my information and provides my information, of course, with my consent. That's, I think, a no-brainer behind that. But at least, a company or the hiring process gonna look completely different after having that, because you go from a ask market to a bid market immediately with that, because you can be pretty sure this information I am using is not someone who's sitting there and just coming up with cool new titles, but it's approved by the companies he worked in, so the reference part gonna go away, etc. That would be one use case behind that. Another one is an investment use case. I think that's a very, very strong thing for companies, specifically for startups. Thomas can talk more about that, but I'm just going to outline the technology part, and Thomas can jump into it. it's mainly a document management where you can access due diligence, term sheets, etc., which have been done by professionals, and can invest into a startup through tokens. So you don't really pay, the amount with that, but you use the tokens as a reservation, amount to reserve the shares you want to have that. So we are not going into the security part. We are not touching the SEC part. But what we do, I'm ticking, by the way, the check boxes for the XRP community.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
No, but what you do is you reserve the share you want to have through tokens, and you don't actually need to talk to the company at all. What happens is you're going to get all your documents you want. You're going to download them, pay for them, and download them. I think these are strong cases for small companies and bigger companies. And then you can drill that down. You can drill it completely down to process optimization. Let's take an automotive supplier, right? So an automotive supplier, what does they do? They build steering wheels and seats and radios, etc. And usually they jump immediately on something like SAP, right? I had one client, he paid 136 million euros for their S4HANA transformation.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, but the main thing was it's due to wrong or bad processes they had in the first place, and they needed to change a lot on the way. And bad processes have bad database architectures. Bad database architectures come down to bad storage of data and usage of data, which blockchain is a very, very big support in not getting into this trap in the first place.
That's really good stuff.
Hey, Hans brought this up, and he's talking about as you're customizing. So just to go back to, Corey, and, Corey's fired up. He said, thank you, and will do. He's going to reach out to you guys. Right. So that's outstanding. Yeah, we can do this all day long. Who else is in here? We'll get them.
Come on, we'll get you a couple of new customers. Let's go.
Well, by the time we leave here, you'll have a handful. Alan, I think you need to call them too. But Hans is saying, so they outsource these customized processes, meaning that, if you're going to customize for Corey or customize the product for Alan, or potentially customize a solution for KHUD because he's more involved in the service side, doesn't manufacture a product, but, are these solutions outsourced, or are you somehow handling them internally, the customization process?
No, yeah, let's say, look, what we do is, and actually the world in these industries, if you once have seen a value chain, they are not always to be customized, because I'm so long in the business and I know everyone wants to have something customized. But if you look down to the real processes you need, there is no need for customization, because it's a flow. Okay, it will not be the processes which we have today, because we will disrupt many processes. And it was not only the example what Navid was bringing with your CVs and information about your career or whatever in a hiring process. The same is it will be also in healthcare and everything, your health data. It will be owned by you on the blockchain and not by all these doctors and the medicine guys. This is different processes. But if you have once those processes, they will not be so different from, let's say, one business in the same sector. Be careful, in the same, let's say, in automotive or in furniture building or whatever. It will not be so different. But the idea is, for sure, these pre-processed and predefined modules, whenever we have started in one industry, the others can use them as a service. So it's a kind of outsourcing of this one, but still it's the marketplace or the data or the payment module of our client. And if he wants to have it customized, we have the services for the customization. So we have to differentiate what is the solution we have on a chain, who is the owner of the data and the solution, who is customizing. So customizing as a service, like a consulting service, the data is still with the company and is owned by the company, is only on the chain. And the second layer is on the chain as well, which is actually that chain. It's not even our chain. It's really only our platform. And the platform is owned by itself, because this is, okay, it's a little bit further. It's the DAO then at the end of the day, because this part of the organization belongs to the second layer and is not ours. It's not the customers' ones. You see, I hope I could explain that, but this is different layers. And for sure, it's a kind of outsourced service on one hand side. It's a part of customization which comes via our customization service, and it's a part on a chain.
I don't know if I got the question very right. I think there was a little bit deeper meaning of that. I just don't know if he meant technology or if he meant really customizing the front end or customizing the processes. But one important thing to mention is, Thomas just said it. We partner with people, though. If we would help Corey, it would be his project, He don't need to pay for that. We would act as a company builder for him and invest into this part, so he can use it and we can use it afterwards. We are doing exactly the same thing right now for two different use cases. One is healthcare. We're partnering up with someone who is jumping. He's not joining us in our company, but he is joint venturing with us for healthcare. And we have the same for an I can't say what it is, but for a consumer, retail consumer product.
Very good. It's amazing that we've almost had an hour. I just want to see if anybody else had any parting questions, but while we do this, because gentlemen, we appreciate your time, knowing that you've been doing a lot of traveling, and of course it's very late there as well. And at some point, I hope that would love to drop in on Germany one of these years, one of these days. Brilliant country, and of course, still I think one of the top. I mean, one of the things when I think about Germany is I think just about design. I think about manufacturing. I think about top of class. Really, a lot of great stuff. Also, automobiles too. Great automobiles.
They have a couple cars over there, Chip.
A couple cars over there, Jeff, that are very, very fine motor vehicles. Yeah, some of the best in class.
And they actually have some nice racetracks over there as well.
That is also true, Jeff, and I'm sure Dr. Thomas has been to a couple of those and seen a few of those. Yeah. So, which is always great. But
hey, Thomas, come to the U.S. in May and to Miami, the Formula One for the first time in I don't know how many years is coming to Miami.
It's been a long time.
So really upset everything with Montreal, but it's gonna be awesome. I had the all day today. A friend of mine came over to visit. He's been here for the past couple of weeks from Munich, and so spent the whole day with him today. And it was great talking to you guys, this evening. So it's been like the German day for me, But this is really great. I'm looking at real world use case. We have someone here, Corey. We're able to really dig in. Analyze his business using your product. It's going to be great to see a follow-up to that. Hopefully, Corey is able to reach out to you guys via your website. And then, we'll be able to track
reach out to us,
or through us. Either way, we'll find a way to make sure Corey gets in touch with you guys. I would love to see, as this begins to orchestrate, to see what kind of progress is made with that. And so what would your expectation be as kind of a parting? So you get started with Corey. What is that time frame for the onboarding process for Corey, considering, obviously there's a lot that he probably has to bring to the table to implement with his data, but what do you expect the onboarding process to look like?
Look, usually if the scope is clear, so if the person we're working with, the person knows what he needs to be done in his own process, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, and we are ready to go. We are ready to go live with that.
There you go.
And as I said, I've got 42 people sitting in Ukraine who are daily working on real-time cases and building that up. And if we know, look, the biggest part is at the moment where someone comes with an industry-specific use case, to get the process lined out, to find the single elements we have to build within the process. It's never one thing, right? So you don't cover the whole process in one module. So to build the modules, and then the implementation part is 2 clicks. At the moment it's done, it's 2 clicks, and then it's part of the marketplace, and you can just download it and use it. Right?
Awesome.
So 2 to 3 weeks.
But as said, it's really the scope. This is important, and the process behind. And I, in my, let's say, I experienced that the people, they have an idea what they want, but they don't know what they really need. And this is still work to do. That's why we say, and there's a little bit the consulting part which comes in to guide them, that they find out what they really need. Because sometimes what they obviously need is not what they really need, and not the real problem to bring it then in the solution. So you see what I mean? So the 3 weeks are clear if he knows what he wants, and if this is definitely the problem in his value chain, what he wants to solve. And this is important, because sometimes it's not so obvious what he really needs. In Corey's case, it's clear, because he wants to really trace all the value chain on all different parts for all his furniture products. Seems to be clear to me, but for sure in the details is still work to do. And this could last some time before, but we make sure to support him that afterwards, our guys can then bring it in 2-3 weeks into on chain actually.
Awesome.
Right on.
I think one important part in all that is look, at the moment where someone comes up with a use case to build, is the value is very, very important. But I think the most important thing is building up real value pools. Solving many problems just with one value creation mechanism behind that, right? So I think this is very important, and that's exactly where someone with like Thomas, right, or someone like our team behind that really can help to extend this single value to a really value pool, which helps you with your business afterwards.
Yeah, this was the question, Mr. K. Bullish. There are many enterprise-based design packages like the Salt Systems, Autodesk. Are you looking at partnering with any of these types of offerings?
Yeah, as my background is design as well, and I know all these, I would love to. I would really love to. We haven't looked into that yet, but we will put that. We will put that for on discussion. The problem you have with tools like Autodesk, even Photoshop, right? The problem is you really will be bound into lifelong contracts with them. And it's pretty simple. If you want to work with them, you have to do what they say to do.
Right.
And
also,
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, I could see like when you're dealing with images, now we deal with an old we have metadata that's embedded into whether you took a photo, a Photoshop image, this kind of stuff, where blockchain really could replace that, because it's not authentic. Anybody can change metadata inside of an image. You open up you can even do it inside of Photoshop. You can open it up and change it. So I see that being another solution potentially to make sure that you're dealing with the original. It's authentic. Authentic. Thank you for helping me. It's my first language, my only language. So thank you.
But what is really a real good use case behind that is copyright. Right, IP is very, very important. If I build the machinery on Autodesk or any design behind that, to have the patent, right, of my idea before that. That's what I said. I would love to do that, but we haven't touched it yet.
Got it.
We will look into it. Definitely.
By the way, just before we get out of here, any update on the airdrop at all? Just curious. Just asking for
just asking for a few friends.
A couple thousand friends.
Great. Yes, an update is there. The data set is updated. Was updated before the show though, so everybody can check. We have still a couple of a couple tenth of sheets of addresses which we are looking into should be finished by tomorrow, but
Perfect.
mainly the most of them is in. To give you figures, it's double the size than before.
Wow. So we're looking closer to, I know we were like just under 24,000, so we're probably double that.
Yes,
very good. That's good news.
Yeah,
good to hear. Well,
but still,
gentlemen,
I have to give a disclaimer on that. Not everybody can make it into that. I'm really sorry for that, but not.
Well,
everybody.
It was a limited supply. That's what I think people miss, is it was a limited supply. But again, I want to thank both of you for coming on tonight, and also hang out after we stop going. You know, after we get off the air here, but we'll just we'll close out.
Yeah, hang in, and we'll part ways offline.
Part ways offline. But thank you so much, Dr. Thomas Riegler, and of course Navid. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it, guys. Get some sleep. Finally. So just hang out for another 5 seconds, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Go
ahead, Shai.
I'll just say tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we have John Deaton on. Tomorrow night we have an Ask Me Anything with him. And we'll have some friends of ours dropping by to ask some questions. So it's going to be an interesting night, because tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary that the SEC dropped the case on Ripple Labs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and have a lot of questions. So we'll wrap that up. Anything else you want to say in closing? Gentlemen, Navid, Thomas?
Thank you for having us, and thank you for community to be there.
Yeah,
awesome.
And I'm so grateful to have the chance to talk to people who really want to have solutions. And Corey was one of those, because we want to be connected to exactly those real cases and those guys who need the support. And grateful for that, and having us in the show. Jeff, Chip, many thanks.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome. It's outstanding having you guys here. Appreciate you guys taking your time again after a long, arduous travel, from Dubai. You guys did an outstanding job with us tonight, and looking forward to getting some updates, and obviously hearing, hopefully we see some great things coming out of Corey as well, and then we'll keep twisting Alan's arm from Very Easy Hydroponics and see how we can
And I also want to make sure that it's said that I want to give a big shout out to Moonchaser, who's been a great steward of the project, but also in helping setting this up. Really fantastic. So big shout out. I know she was also in the chat tonight, checking in with people, and I saw her in the chat as well. But thank you, Moonchaser, for making this happen. And thank all of you for showing up, and then your questions. And Jeff, what do we always say? We got one of the smartest, most educated by far people as far as fans and family members that come in here and ask really great questions. We saw that demonstrated here tonight. So with that said, we will be out. And Navid, Thomas, stick around for 1 second. We'll be back with you in 4 seconds. Here we go, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.